10 people drank water and died. This is India's cleanest city. Poster boy Neta, killer negligence. Now Delhi's taps turn to death traps. Is safe water a privilege now?
Safe water, safe air, is it now a luxury that only those who have purifiers and filters at home can afford? And is that the reality of modern-day India in 2026? That's our focus on the program today. Hello and welcome. I'm Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. This is 5 Live. We've got a special report on the program coming up for you. This time not from Indore, but a reality of Delhi. Not South Delhi, but West Delhi. What's happening really over there? And is that the dark underbelly of the country that has gotten ignored for far too long? That and much more on the program. Indore is proudly called India's cleanest city. But that claim now lies exposed, as we all know. Deaths caused by contaminated water have ripped apart the clean city facade, revealing the system's rotten at its core. Now, Bhagirathpura was the ground report of this deadly crisis. It was the ground zero of that crisis where all the deaths were reported. And what you're about to see now explains why civic apathy in India keeps killing again and again and again. The visuals on your screen right now are from 2025. The man speaking is Indore's Mayor Pushyamitra Bhargava, under whose watch this tragedy actually unfolded. Standing beside him, that man, is Kamal Waghela, the Bhagirathpura's councillor. Just 8 months before people died because of the drinking that poisoned water, the mayor publicly honored that very councillor as the best one in the city, showering him with praise, especially of how he was doing the laying of roads and that of pipelines as well. Listen in.
लेकिन कमल जी संगठन के आदमी हैं, महामंत्री रहे हैं, 24 सड़कें उन्होंने बना दी है इस वार्ड में, और 24 सड़कें उन्होंने बनाई तो पहले ड्रेनेज की लाइन डाली और पानी की लाइन डाली। एक सड़क को बनाने का कम से कम खर्चा 10 लाख, तो 2 करोड़ 40 लाख की तो सड़कें हो गई, और इतने की पानी की और ड्रेनेज की लाइन डाली है। तो एक पार्षद ने अपने 3 सालों में 10 करोड़ के काम करा दिए, तो एक साल में 3 करोड़ के काम। तो ये अच्छा काम करने का सर्टिफिकेट मैं मेयर होने के नाते उनको देता हूं और बधाई देता हूं।
अच्छा काम करने का certificate. Now, what is that अच्छा काम? You all know, right, by now. A man who should be answering for deaths was just months ago showcased at Indore's model administrator. That's the reality of the times we live in. But now let's shift our focus also to the big story that we are tracking. There's a growing fear that Indore was not an exception, but a warning. And that warning is ringing loud here in the national capital as well. India Today went on ground to test the water Delhiites are forced to drink. And what we found is alarming. In a West Delhi colony, families have no choice but to consume water that smells, looks, and even feels like sewage. Watch this ground report exposing how contaminated water is silently poisoning even the capital of the country.
This could be Delhi's very own Bhagirathpur. Sewer-mixed water for nearly 2 months. People falling sick and authorities saying, "Pani theek hai." This is West Delhi's Kumar Singh colony, with serious questions on governance, accountability and public health. This is not just about dirty water. This is about a system that refuses to listen until lives are lost. These are not isolated complaints. Scroll through the Delhi Jal Board's own social media and you see a flood of cries for help. Sewer mixed water, foul smell, contaminated supply. But on the ground, in Kumar Singh colony, the crisis has only deepened. What you're seeing is not sewage from an open drain. This is water coming directly from Delhi Jal Board pipelines. For nearly 2 months, residents allege sewer mixed water has been supplied to multiple lanes of this colony. Water that smells, water that looks dirty, water that people are scared to drink.
The Indore water contamination story made big headlines. But today we are here in the national capital. And the kind of water that is being supplied by the Delhi Jal Board in this particular colony in West Delhi smells of sewerage. The locals over here say that this is an issue that's been persistent for close to 3 months now without any solution. People by themselves have been forced to buy water from private sources. And if this is the kind of water, which is a basic human right, which literally smells of stench is being provided to people and they're being expected to continue with this kind of service, it raises a big question on the kind of governance we are forcing on our people.
4 महीने हो गए हैं, गंदे पानी बहुत आते हैं, साफ तो आते हैं, बाकी बदबू वाला पानी आते हैं, नाली के पानी के जैसे बदबू आ रहे हैं। ये पानी पीने से इंसान के पेट में दर्द हो रहे हैं, बीमार भी पड़ रहे हैं।
गंदा ही पानी आ रहा है, 2-3 महीना से सबके पेट में दर्द हो रहा है।
आप लोग मैनेज कैसे कर रहे हो? पानी को तो हर चीज में जरूरत है।
खरीद के पी रहे हैं पानी 2-3 महीने से।
तो हो रहा है, पेट में बहुत ज्यादा दर्द है, तबीयत खराब हो रही है, किसी को उल्टी हो रही है, किसी को लैट्रिन हो रही है, ऐसे ही दर्द है, किसी के गैस बन रही है।
हमारे यहाँ पानी आ रहा है, लेकिन पानी आ रहा है सारा सीवर का मिक्स होके, तो किसी के पीने योग्य तो है नहीं, इसलिए पूरी कॉलोनी है टू कुंवर सिंह नगर की परेशान है पानी के लिए।
तो दिल्ली जल बोर्ड वाले क्या कह रहे हैं?
का चेक करते हैं, चेक करके चले जाते, पानी ठीक है बस। फिर
अच्छा, चेक में कहते पानी ठीक है?
हाँ ठीक है, तब यही बोलेंगे पानी अच्छा है, देखो कहाँ गंदा है, अच्छा है पानी तो। हाँ,
कितनी बार ऐसा हुआ है?
2-3 बार आ चुके हैं।
पानी नली के आ रहा है 2 महीना से लमसम।
हाँ 2 महीना तो
हम लोग खरीद के पानी पीते हैं जी, तो जिसका गुंजाइश है वो तो पिएगा, जिसका गुंजाइश है नहीं पिएगा, वही नली के पानी पिएगा।
When even children know the water is unsafe, what are authorities waiting for?
एक बात बताओ, यहाँ पे जो पानी आ रहा है, कैसा पानी आ रहा है?
बदबू वाली।
बदबू वाली? कैसी बदबू आती है?
बहुत गंदी।
कैसा पानी आ रहा है बच्चा?
गंदा आ रहा है।
कैसा दिखने में?
दिखने में वो वाइट सा आ रहा है।
One family says the mother felt so sick she had to be sent back to her native village. Others speak of stomach infections, vomiting, diarrhea day after day.
मेरी मम्मी तो खुद बीमार हो गई थी, फिर मैंने गांव भेजा, वहाँ जाके थोड़ी सही है।
आपकी मम्मी बीमार हो गई थी? क्या हो गया था उनको?
मतलब पानी पी के ना पेट में दर्द हो रहा है और सांस फूल रही थी उनकी बहुत।
तो अब उनको कहाँ भेज दिया?
हॉस्पिटल गांव में ही इलाज चल रहा है।
This is not fear. This is a health pattern playing out in real time.
अभी आए थे, पेशेंट आ रहे थे, इस तरह पर्चे भी आ रहे थे, डॉक्टर लेके भी रहे थे, हमारे पास भी आते हैं जो थोड़े बहुत लेने के लिए, वो आ रहे हैं।
कितने पेशेंट्स के भी आए हैं?
अच्छा, तो 15-20 पेशेंट एक दिन में आ जाते हैं।
एक दिन में 15-20 पेशेंट सिर्फ डायरिया?
हाँ, डायरिया के लिए, पेट दर्द के लिए, डायरिया के लिए
लोग आते हैं। नेताजी आप देख के चले जाते हैं, और ये आज से नहीं कम से कम 2-3 महीने से परेशानी है ये। इससे बढ़िया केजरीवाल सरकार में सही था पानी।
People are paying for water they cannot use, while spending 50 rupees every day on bottled water or relying on illegal bore wells just to survive.
पानी भरते नहीं है, बाकी बिल आते हैं। अब ये देखो, इतने गंदे पानी आ रहे हैं, लोग बीमार पड़ रहे हैं। मेरा 6000 रुपया बिल आए हैं।
पानी नहीं यूज कर पा रहे हो?
नहीं जी, पानी कहाँ यूज कर रहे हैं, हम सब तो ऑनलाइन पानी मंगवा रहे हैं। 5 लीटर 10 लीटर के कैन आ रहे हैं, वो ऑनलाइन में पानी मैंने मंगा रही हूँ। मैंने
पानी नाले जैसा आ रहा, अब बहुत बदबू आ रहा पानी में।
बिल कितना आ गया आपको पानी में?
हमारा बिल आया था 24,000।
और आप लोग पानी इस्तेमाल नहीं कर रहे, बाहर से पानी?
हमारे पास टंकी में लगाई नहीं, हो रही बाहर एक टोटी।
Even families with Delhi Jal Board employees say their complaints are ignored. If insiders can't get action, what hope do ordinary citizens have?
कब से आ रही है ऐसी गंदी पानी?
ये आ रहा है 1 महीना हो गया जब से आ रहा है।
अच्छा, आपके घर में तो दिल्ली जल बोर्ड से ही काम करते हैं?
हाँ, दिल्ली जल बोर्ड के पर कंप्लेंट कर दी, कोई फायदा नहीं हो रहा है, फिर भी गंदा पानी आ रहा है।
The local MLA, who also holds the health and transport portfolios, accused of not finding time to listen to residents facing a public health emergency.
झाड़ू वाली सरकार थी, लेकिन पानी बढ़िया आता था, चाहे 1 हफ्ते में आए, चाहे 10 दिन में आए, लेकिन पानी अच्छा आता था।
जो अब आप लोगों के चुने गए प्रतिनिधि है, उन लोगों से कुछ बोला गया? आप लोगों ने कंप्लेन की?
कहाँ है? वो नहीं सुनते, वो सुनते ही नहीं है, कह देते ठीक है, बस इसके बाद कुछ नहीं करते वो।
कौन है आपका यहाँ पे एमएलए?
वही है पंकज,
ट्रांसपोर्ट मिनिस्टर, और जो स्वास्थ्य में भी है
वही
मंत्री है वो तो।
हाँ जी,
A political accusation, but one that underscores public anger and loss of trust.
जब से बीजेपी सरकार आई है, जब से पानी की प्रॉब्लम है रही है, जब से वो केजरीवाल थे जब तो हुई नहीं थी। बीजेपी सरकार आई है जब से पानी की प्रॉब्लम है ज्यादा से।
इससे पहले
कभी नहीं थी इतनी।
And here's what's making the claims of safe water even more worrying. Recent reports reveal 23 of 25 Delhi Jal Board water testing labs have lost NABL accreditation. So when officials certify water as fit, on what basis is that certificate being given? Delhi has seen this before. In Indore's Bhagirathpur, contaminated water cost lives. Before authorities woke up, Kumar Singh colony is asking, will Delhi act before tragedy strikes? Shreya Chatterjee for India Today.
All right, that's the dark reality, or perhaps the dirty reality, if we can call it that, of West Delhi. And I'm sure there are so many colonies like that exist in your city, just like they do in mine. But let me cut across to my colleague Shreya, who got us that brilliant report. Shreya, firstly, fabulous reporting from that area. You've really managed to put out and put the entire perspective from there, because citizen after citizen, resident after resident is saying the same thing, that from the past 2 months, the situation seems to have worsened. The other thing that they're saying is that they have called the Jal Board, but they're not taking action. And the third thing that you mentioned was that you, like me, before the program, tried to contact the local MLA of the area. We tried to establish contact. They're refusing to comment. They refuse to come and acknowledge that there's a problem, and they refuse to. Thus, I'm wondering what the solution would be. How close are we to identifying where the problem is and what needs to be done?
Well, Sonal, this is a problem which is not an isolated one, because I've been scouting locations in the national capital since yesterday right now, and there are multiple such places which actually reeling under sewer mixed water. I'm collecting those waters actually, because what is even more shocking right now is that Delhi Jal Board clearly says that the water is fit for drinking. Even local MLAs, they are seeking for the details, but there's no action on the ground. If we are leaving our people to drink sewer mixed water, we are probably waiting for another big tragedy to unfold. Only then we will act. But the problem is urban planning. Why people voted for the BJP in the national capital is because they thought that all the apparatus can actually work together. If the Delhi Jal Board cannot work with the gas line department, because remember, there are intermingling lines, and that is one of the reasons when lines get dug, they get actually mixed up and then sewer overflows. So these are the reasons they wanted a double engine government. Even that coming to power, if solution is not being offered on the ground, that is the real question, because we have ground report from one place that we showed today, but this is not an isolated incident. Sonal, there are multiple such colonies in the national capital who are being forced to use sewer mixed water.
Right. In fact, the report that for our viewers, let's tell you, the report that you've seen is part 1 of the investigation. Shreya's got more coming that we'll showcase tomorrow at 5 o'clock here on the program as well. But Shreya, I'm so glad you're collecting all this water, because, let's talk about this post the program as well. Let's make a 2026 Happy New Year hamper, and let's send it to all the MLAs over there, and let's see if it's fit for them to sort of drink. Because this is clearly visible to anybody with 2 pairs of naked eyes and and a nose to smell that it's bad. Why are they so laid back in taking action?
Well, there's no plausible answer, Sonal, and why I'm collecting the water is because the Delhi Jal Board officials just come and say that the water is fit for drinking. And that is another point to highlight, that recent reports suggested that 23 labs of the Delhi Jal Board, they have actually lost their NABL accreditation. So if their own labs are not fit to actually test the water, how will they actually provide fit water to the people in the national capital? That is the reason I'm collecting this water. Everywhere I'll be going, I will ensure that these waters are collected. And if required, Sonal, as you suggested, we should definitely arrange for a hamper and we should send it to the minister so that they can themselves see that what are the kind of water they are forcing the people to drink, whose votes they have actually relied on to sit on the chairs they are sitting right now.
Kudos, Shreya, well done. And let's talk about this. We definitely need to send a hamper. If viewers, you agree with us, please send us your comments on the live feed, on all our pages that are going on, and tell us what's happening in your colony. We'll ensure that this incredible effort that Shreya is doing can be translated into more reality checks in those areas. And let's see how deep-rooted the problem really is, and also see how long the government will really sit on this matter. For the moment, thanks so much for now, Shreya. We'll see you again tomorrow. All right, more updates on this story coming in. Let's cut across to that. After the India Today report now on the Delhi water menace, Delhi government seems to have swung into action. In the Kumar Singh colony case, BJP is saying that foul smell in water due to old pipelines, and pipelines in the locality will be changed soon. This is what the BJP leader had to say. Let's listen in.
आपने अगर रियलिटी चेक किया, कई इलाकों में हो सकता है होगा, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि दिल्ली की सरकार पूरी तरह सजग है। और यकीन मानिए, और मैं यकीन दिलवाता हूँ आपके चैनल के माध्यम से दिल्ली की जनता को, इंदौर जैसी घटना बिल्कुल भी पॉसिबल यहाँ नहीं है और होगी भी नहीं, क्योंकि दिल्ली की सरकार पूरी तरह सजग है। लेकिन पिछले कई सरकारों ने इस पर ध्यान नहीं दिया था, और जैसे आपको मालूम है कि हम सीवेज का और इसका हम मास्टर प्लान भी लेके आ रहे हैं, और ऐसा हम लोग पूरी तरह सजग हैं, दिल्ली की सरकार पूरी तरह सजग है। और निश्चित तौर के ऊपर पुरानी लाइनें ऑलरेडी बदली जा रही हैं और बदले की शुरुआत काफी हद तक हो चुकी है।
All right, let's see if we have Shreya again, because I hope she could also hear that reaction that is coming from the Delhi government. Harish Khurana there, the MLA, making that response. But Shreya, am I right to understand that these water pipelines are strictly under the Jal Board, but the sewage mixing, etc., all of that has to be coordinated with the MLC, not the MLA? Is that correct?
Well, absolutely. That's exactly what needs to be done. And, if you see, there are paperworks that are actually put in record, because Delhi Jal Board said that, intensify checkings. We should check in areas where the sewer lines are closed. What Mr. Harish Khurana is saying doesn't translate on the ground. The reason so, because our urban planning is massively lacking on the ground. We cannot have Delhi Jal Board work independently, not talking with the gas line department. When the gas line is laying their pipe, they need to check it with the Delhi Jal Board where the Delhi Jal Board pipeline is. When these works do not happen together, and then there is a breakage in the pipeline, sewage water gets mixed. It's not an old story. It's an everyday issue, and it's across the national capital. So what Mr. Khurana has said, I don't completely agree on the ground, because please visit on the ground. The situation is completely different. We're not talking or a 2-day incident. For months, people are being forced to drink this kind of water.
The operative part here, Shreya, is also the fact that here it is not an Aam Aadmi Party versus BJP competition, or a political, tu-tu me going on, or a constant, how they used to fight on every freaking issue. It's not that. This is both BJP-empowered bodies which are now not talking to each other. For me, that's the operative part. But let's listen into what Mr. Khurana said one more time.
आपने अगर रियलिटी चेक किया, कई इलाकों में हो सकता है होगा, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि दिल्ली की सरकार पूरी तरह सजग है। और यकीन मानिए, और मैं यकीन दिलवाता हूँ आपके चैनल के माध्यम से दिल्ली की जनता को, इंदौर जैसी घटना बिल्कुल भी पॉसिबल यहाँ नहीं है और होगी भी नहीं, क्योंकि दिल्ली की सरकार पूरी तरह सजग है। लेकिन पिछले कई सरकारों ने इस पर ध्यान नहीं दिया था, और जैसे आपको मालूम है कि हम सीवेज का और इसका हम मास्टर प्लान भी लेके आ रहे हैं, और ऐसा हम लोग पूरी तरह सजग हैं, दिल्ली की सरकार पूरी तरह सजग है। और निश्चित तौर के ऊपर पुरानी लाइनें ऑलरेडी बदली जा रही हैं और बदले की शुरुआत काफी हद तक हो चुकी है।
Right, Delhi government over there, the MLA saying that they are on top of the situation. Doesn't look like that's quite the case on the ground. But like we said, this is part one of the investigation and a reality check that we brought to you from West Delhi. Tomorrow will be part two, where we'll again do the same drill. We'll go check the quality of water on the ground, speak to the residents, understand their concern, and we'll connect that to the local MLA and MLC and get their reaction if they are agreeing to acknowledge the problem at all. And this, friends, is what we really need to do on a day-to-day basis. That's what it's come down to. It's fight for basics here in the country, even in the national capital, so to say, for water, for air, for basic meds as well. That's the fight that we are in at the moment. But, apart from this, let's talk about another very interesting aspect. Typhoid has been on the rise even in urban India. But why are RO drinking people like us still getting typhoid? We've had a spree of cases being reported here in the National Capital Region, including places like Gurgaon and Noida. So what's the story there? Let's try and understand that. Now, it began in Indore, the story of contaminated water, multiple deaths, and a city suddenly asking, how did this happen? At first glance, it seems like a familiar story: dirty water, broken pipelines, official apathy, all of that. But this story doesn't end there. In fact, for many urban Indians, it doesn't even begin there. What I mean by that is, here's the uncomfortable question that we've got to ask ourselves. You and I probably have a filtration process of water at home. Probably it is RO water. If we don't even touch water which is not filtered, but how are still cases of typhoid on the rise amongst us? The answer isn't in your glass, it's on your plate. Most people assume that typhoid spreads only through drinking water. That's not true. It spreads through what water touches and even who handles it. So think of it, all your uncooked food, your cut fruits, raw salads, including sushis or perhaps upscale restaurants, stuff that you have raw. Even your street-style snacks like pani puri. And then there's another big aspect which is said to be the major source of typhoid spreading. It is commercial ice. Those cocktails that you down at your favorite clubs and bars, often made with untreated water, that could be holding the virus. It's that one thing that nobody is really questioning. But it's important for you to understand, how does the bacteria even get there? Now, typhoid lives only in humans, remember. It spreads through poor hygiene, which means a cook or a server, someone who looks perfectly healthy, can still pass it on. By the time symptoms show up, the damage is already done. The fever that refuses to break is typhoid. Exhaustion that feels like excessive is typhoid. Stomach pain, diarrhea, and constipation could also be typhoid. And this is where many people make the mistake. They self-medicate, they delay testing. But the typhoid really thrives on delay. There is a protection, remember. You have to, of course, go to your doctor, figure out what to do, test first. But there is also now a vaccine that exists. It's safe for 6 months of age. Adults can take it too. Kids generally have it in, the routine vaccines that are given to them. But again, even the vaccine is not a guarantee, which brings us back to the story of our civic infrastructure, to things like Indore. People, because of the outbreaks, don't stay local anymore. They travel with people, with food, with habits. The virus is spreading. The bottom line is, typhoid isn't a thing of the past. It's an urban problem hiding in plain sight. It is not just for those who perhaps don't treat their water. It's also not just for those who think drinking water has been treated, but are still washing their fruits and their vegetables, even their utensils, with bad water, which could have traces of it. So, RO water alone cannot save you and I. We've got to be careful about what we consume and, importantly, where we consume it from. Joining us now is Dr. Atul Gogia. He is the head infectious disease at Sir Ganga Ram Hospital. Thank you so much for your time. Dr. Gogia, I want to start by understanding this. For several years, Dr. Gogia, for several years, we thought that, typhoid and stuff like that was a problem that existed in the rural centers, where people were perhaps not treating their problem. But this time, there's a very peculiar problem in urban centers, and people with affluent families or with more comfortable lifestyles or with RO purification at home are getting it.
Right. Good evening. Thank you for having me. I was just listening to you and you really highlighted it very well. So it's no longer a disease which is occurring in just the rural setting. In every day, in big centers like ours, we are seeing a lot of patients suffering from typhoid. And we, as you highlighted, that rightly so, typhoid is only happening because of fecal-oral route. So there has to be contaminated food and water which we are ingesting. So most of us feel very complacent that we have an RO or a filter at home and we cannot get, and a lot of patients would come up and say that they are only having bottled water. But we have to be very sure, as you highlighted, it's the raw, uncooked, undercooked food and the vegetables, the salads, and these also carry a lot of infections if not treated properly, in the sense that if not washed properly. So the water which you're using for washing also has to be
As important.
hygienic and clean water. That has to be clean water. So the best thing, actually the safest and the best thing, is boiling the water till the time we are able to get proper, ensure that we have clean water. Boiling water is the essential thing which can actually do away with this kind of a thing. But with the fads of having high food like salads and all, even when you're going out for a party or a restaurant or a wedding, people would pick up raw stuff which can get, and you are not sure of people who are cooking when there are large gatherings or when you're in a restaurant. So you cannot ensure the hygiene status and things like that when they are being mass production is there, and then the carrier status is there. Some of the people who are cooking may be harboring the infection, and which can be transmitted. So it's very, very important that clean water and properly cooked food, this is the main thing which we
Dr.
have to
Gogia,
think
help me understand. Help me understand then what is the best way to wash your fruits and vegetables, especially the fruits. Not everybody, you know the wastage of water that happens with RO, right? 40% of your water is actually getting wasted in a country where, people don't even have access to it for, in most parts. So what is the best way to wash your fruits and vegetables?
So that's what I'm saying. When you don't have access to RO, or you don't, you want to prevent the wasting, boiling water is the best method. If you boil the water and you just, use that water for your regular use, in fact, also for cleaning, that generally would make things better. That's the simplest way, because that is something which all of us can do. You have you're cooking, so you can just boil the water for a minute or more, and you are able to ensure that the typhoid as well as other bacterial infections which are spread by this route also are taken care of.
Right. Another thing I noticed, Dr. Gogia, this time around is that typhoid earlier, and correct me if I'm wrong, used to be a disease that happened during the monsoons. This time in the winter it's spreading. What could be the cause of that?
So the thing is, monsoons, we've always been attributing these things to the monsoons because there is flooding. There is a mixing of water, in the system, of the drainage system. So that is the general thing which we've been seeing, because when there are flooding, water getting collected, so there is, the mixing of the mixing of water happening, and that generally was caused. But if you are not having access to clean drinking water and you are not ensuring these things, then definitely there is a surge in the typhoid. The other thing is, as we have a rampant use of antibiotics and things like, over-the-counter treatment people are taking. So we have partially treated things which are, making typhoid even resistant to the conventional antibiotics which we've been using earlier. Now you have to give, in a simple layman's terms, stronger antibiotics which are for longer duration. So earlier, 3-4 days, fever would break down with the simple oral antibiotics. Now you may have to upgrade to intravenous antibiotics and maybe give it longer. Minimum 5 to 7 days it would take before, the fever would break down. So those are the challenges which are coming in now.
Dr. Gogia, I have last few minutes, but I quickly want you to highlight, before people self-medicate, what are the symptoms that they should check for and immediately think that it could be not just your regular seasonal flu or a flu-related or an allergic flu related to the pollution, that it could be something else. What are the symptoms that one must watch out for?
So very simple. Generally, if you think of simple viral flu, generally you would have upper respiratory symptoms like sore throat, running nose, cough. These are more like flu-like symptoms. So if you have high-grade fever, you have headaches, loss of appetite, abdominal symptoms, either constipation, diarrhea, bad taste, loss of appetite, which is lasting more than the usual 3, 4, 5 days. Generally the virals and the flus would settle down in 3 to 5 days, but something which is lasting longer than this, and you are having high fever, not coming down with your paracetamols or coming back, having headache, diarrhea, constipation, bad taste in the mouth. These are some of the symptoms which should make you think that you have typhoid, and one should do consult the doctor and get the appropriate test. And I would highlight one simple test. The blood culture is the only standard gold standard test which should be done. There are a lot of tests available which are being done, so that's the important thing. Yeah.
All right, Dr. Atul Gogia there, thank you so much for joining us. And here's hoping that people benefit from all this information and stop self-medicating, and stop or also understand what the symptoms could be. It could be typhoid, it could be any other waterborne or airborne infection. We've got to stop, taking recommendations from our chemist. We've got to consult a doctor before we go ahead. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you.
All right, moving on now. If the last year, 2025, was all about getting your hands on the Labubu dolls, this year could well belong to not them, but hyper-realistic charms, which are now called Mirumi, created this time in Tokyo. This doll is a furry companion robot and also reacts to the surroundings with simple yet expressive movements. What exactly is it? Take a look.
Labubu out, Mirumi in. Labubus are now passé and so 2025. As it turns out, Japan is obsessing over the Mirumi in 2026. Now Mirumi is a cute little bot charm in sharp contrast to Labubu's evil grin. But behind the cute facade lies an engineering marvel created in Tokyo. Yes, the Mirumi is in fact a furry companion robot that straps to your bag. The Mirumi captures the sentiment of the new year perfectly. It's all to do with emotion and not utility. Think of it as an innocent child making playful expressions wherever it goes. It doesn't cook, clean, or behave like ChatGPT. Instead, it sparks small human reactions. A smile from a stranger or a wave from someone you know. The Mirumi blinks and jiggles, interacting and reacting to those around it. When the battery is low, it even sighs tiredly. Basically, a Mirumi gives you the happiness you feel around a baby or a pet, but all while being a robot. Currently costing around Rs 11,000, it is all set to storm the emotional tech market by blending robotic technology with emotional expression. Mirumi debuted in Las Vegas in 2025 and can now be pre-ordered in different color options before global shipping kickstarts. Whether it is curiosity, rejection, happiness, comfort, or confusion, the Mirumi feels it all. The question is whether it will take the world by storm just as its evil counterpart Labubu did.
All right, which one is your pick? Then we leave that on for you to decide. That's all we could pack in today's edition of 5 Live. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.